I don't even know where Greg went. I literally have no idea. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We got our piers set in concrete, and today we're gonna start building walls. Well, we're actually gotta do a lot of prep work. We've got a lot of lumber to cut up. We got a lot of posts to make up. So first thing I gotta do is get the laser set up so I can get my grade set. Let's get into it. Yes, this one is an 1/8 inch taller. I'm finding the highest pier because I can always have a little bit of wood go further than my 0, but I don't want to be cutting off because that shortchanges the potential height for my client's building. So by finding the highest pier in here with the elevation, then everything else will be a plus whatever that difference is. And I've done a lot of videos on this, guys. I'm gonna build a story pole. I'm gonna figure out where I cut all my posts to. That way we can have everything perfectly level elevation wise. So that's what I need to do first before I start cutting up my post. Okay, all right. I think we got it. So now that this receiver is set to my laser on the highest pier, I'm gonna go around and I'm gonna get an elevation mark on every pier. And that is gonna be what I use to build my story pole and use the story pole to make sure all my columns end up with the exact same level for the truss location and all my girt locations. So I'm just gonna start on a wall, grab my marker. And the cool thing about this receiver from Stabila, if you see in here really close, here, let's do this. Let's turn that sound down, okay? So let's say my camera guy wasn't standing right in front of the laser, right? And you could see here, this is telling me, if I hold it perfectly plumb, it says 3/16. What that means is in order to be 0 elevation, I need to add 3/16 to the bottom of my column, which will bring it up. And so what I'm gonna do is just write plus, oh, that was horrible, plus 3/16. And so I'll just walk around real quick. I will find, this one's a 0. That's good. So I'll just find each elevation mark very quickly. Okay, so I turned off the sound, but that right there, that is my highest pier. So we're gonna call this 0. So now what I can do is just go around, and you know what, I've done a video on this. I did like an 1.5 hour long full tutorial on this process. So you can check that, and maybe if I think about it, I'll see. I think it'll be over here, I'll tag it. But we're gonna go around, and you see right here, this is telling me, if you look at this receiver, that's why I love the Stabila receiver here. It's gonna tell me the difference between 0 and where this pier is. This is 9/16 of an inch difference. And really all that means is what I'm going to have to do is I'm gonna add 9/16 to the bottom of my column because this is lower than my highest. So, you know, we just need to be close. It's not a real big deal. That's why we do this twice. We set our piers so that they're close, but then this is the ultimate find here as to where our elevation is so that we can build accurately. So this one is plus 1/4, plus 5/16. So we'll do this on all of our brackets. Then once we got our elevation marks on all of our brackets, we can make up our columns and start building these walls. Also, make sure your stick is plumb. You don't want to be like this, like this. We got a little bubble on this stick to make sure it's plumb because it's the only way you're going to be accurate. And as we get around, we're just going to confirm that we're still at 0 here on this bracket. We do not need a laser now because we have grade marks on every column that are based off of our benchmark. So by having that done at any point in the job, the build, we can go and set a laser up and reference one of those benchmarks on a column, and we will know where our 0 point is for our elevation. So now that we have that, time to go ahead and start building some columns. Plus 5/8. You saw what I was. Oh my Lord. That's a pretty one there. So now that we have those elevation marks on every bracket, we've transferred them to the bottom of the post. We've marked every post 16 feet plus or minus those dimensions. We can now use a story pole to mark all of our girts, our truss locations on every column. So that is what I'm gonna make right now. I'm not gonna go into detail because I've done this video, so check that out. But story poles, it's the way to go. It is the way to go. 5, 11/16 here, heel. All right. All right, so once I have all my marks, I've marked where every girt is, where my truss heel is, where my overhang soffit nailer is. I also need to know where I cut off the top of my column, which we're gonna go 18 3/4. I've got a 15.5-inch heel. I got an overhang. All this makes sense to you guys, right? It's easy. Now that I have all these marks, I'm gonna square them, and then this is our Bible for the job. This will tell us where everything goes on the walls, and we will use it to mark everything out. So this block right here, this is a corner column, and people always ask about how we mount our end trusses because they don't actually sit into one of these saddles. It's gonna sit on this block right here. So it will sit up against this column, it will get nailed. This block is basically a resting place for it, and another board is gonna be down here. We're gonna pound in some 20-penny nails for shear. And a lot of people might be like, is that really enough to hold up the truss, this block? You gotta remember, the end truss is not just gonna sit here on this block, it's also gonna be laminated to every end column on the bottom cord, the top cord, and every 2 foot where a framing member is, or where a web comes across the column. So there's gonna be 100 of these 20-penny nails in that truss, laminating it to every column. So this block is mainly just to set that truss on while we're framing and before we can get it laminated to everything. So yes, this is plenty strong enough. Too much bounce.
Harder wood.
Don't worry, I got you. That wall's done. Let's, oh, Greg, that's a corner.
Where's the mark that says it's a corner?
Bro, if you were thinking, you would have known it was the corner.
You marked it.
Boy. The old trusty telehandler here on site because today is framing day. We've done all the prep work. We're gonna start building our walls, and we're gonna try and do something today that we don't normally do, which is stand up an entire wall. This is a 64-foot long building, and we're gonna try to stand up all those columns all at once. Typically, we only do 5 columns at a time, and especially if it's just Greg and I. But we think we're gonna go ahead and try and stand up the entire wall at once. So let's go ahead and get this thing laid out. We'll get all the framing done. We'll get everything built on the ground. And then we'll fire this telehandler up and put some walls up. By the end of today, you guys are gonna start seeing the building, and hopefully we'll get trusses prepped so that we can start building trusses either this afternoon or tomorrow. Just depends on what the weather does and how hard Greg works today. So, Greg, what are you doing, man? Let's go. All right, something I figured, you know what, new job. My red head has definitely lost a lot of its red. Even though it's an awesome looking hammer, I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one off. We're gonna get a new waffle face here. And I haven't changed this head since I got it about 4 years ago. That's why I hope it comes off pretty good. Now you may be asking, like, why would you replace that head? There's nothing wrong with it. Well, I mean, it's been 4 years probably. The face is smoothed off, and you know, look at the difference. That's lost a little bit of its luster and paint, so we're gonna go ahead and replace it. No, I mean, that'll go on a shelf, you know, that'll be like in memory of. Look at that, that thing is shiny now. Ah, look at that. That is a beaut. Now, let's see, by the end of the day, by the end of framing day or truss day, after pounding a lot of 20s and 60s, we'll see how pretty it looks. We'll see the first scratch develop at some point. How long do you give it? You wanna take the over under?
Let's give it, I would say 30 swings.
30 swings? Bro, come on.
Okay, 10 swings.
Okay, that's more accurate. All right, first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure all these columns are laid out appropriately, so when we build it, it's built square. We don't want it to get built out of square, stand it up, and then push it to square, and then put a lot of tension on our fastener. So Greg measured off this bracket, centered up this column, and then we're gonna go 8 foot subsequently down the line. And also we make sure that our bottom of our columns are all in the bracket at the same point. So that gets us as close to square as possible. Everything needs to be straight when you build it on the ground, otherwise it's just not good. Trust me, bro. Right, is that what they say?
That is what the kids say now.
Yeah, trust me, bro. All right, well, I'm gonna get the compressor because this is like your job you're good at, and I'll do the job that I'm good at, you know? All right. Jumbo nailer time. Look at that thing. That's a beaut. Whew. These ones are all swirly. So these are like a swirl nail versus, I mean, look at the difference. That's the difference between I don't know if you can see the size difference, a 141 and a 135. So this has got a lot more girth to it. So shear strength, that's a 20 penny. And I don't know what they call this, but definitely I'm gonna use these. I'm just gonna put more of them in. When in doubt, just put more nails in it. So what I'm doing is I'm just eyeballing center to the column, because I mean, my eyeball is gonna be good enough, but these lines are the lines that we made with the story pole, and this is how we become efficient, because we did all that work over on the benches, marking all these columns. We know where everything's at. We don't have to pull a tape measure out now. Everything is marked and cut exactly where it goes. And as long as these columns are pretty straight, this job is pretty easy. Sometimes you get some columns that are just, you know, wood, not perfect, and then you're fighting getting them all straight. But these are looking pretty good. And the reason Greg is hand nailing these tops, just because we're going into this truss pocket, so we don't, you know, we don't want to put a nail with the gun. I think we don't trust me. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think,
you know, if the gun shoots off and puts a nail into that truss pocket, it's in our way. We don't want that. So this we can assure as it goes in that it's going nice and straight. And if it doesn't go in perfect, then we can pull it out before it's finished. I got you, buddy. Yeah, right there. So then what Greg is doing is he's spreading this open. And the reason we're spreading it open is because we've learned it makes our job a lot easier putting trusses in. And this joint right here, if you don't do this and you put the truss in and it spreads open those ears, it also will spread open this joint. Then what happens, Greg?
it grows your building.
the building grows. And while you want your kids to eat good food and grow big and healthy and strong, we don't want this top measurement to change. We want it to stay 64 foot. And if this grows, we have a problem. So by doing this, it actually, when we nail the truss together and put our bolts together, it actually pulls this lumber in nice and tight and keeps a consistent dimension. That's something we learned over a lot of grown buildings. Okay, this is gonna be middle post. Last one. Remember, Greg, we used to spend like a whole morning just hand framing before the jumbo nailer. Literally, we'd all line up on a column and we just walk up a column, hammering, and then go back to the next column.
Yeah, good old days.
There was something to be said for the therapeutic nature of this framing day when you had a conversation and you...
Yeah, you just kind of spend time talking about what happened during the week.
Or telling stories. All right, man, that's the first wall framed in about 10 minutes. Let's go ahead and get the telehandler fired up and stand it.
That was too easy.
That was way too easy, man. I guess we'll see what happens. Oh, yeah. I'm glad I got you on my team, Greg. Before we go crazy, this is kind of standing. Let's get you standing. What happens if you push forward? Okay, we did the hard part. That's standing the wall. But now we got to connect it. This is literally my favorite part of the job. Building walls, trussing. Not until we get yours.
Get mine.
Get it close, right about there?
Yep.
So this is the oddball column way out here that Greg helped up, and it's probably the one that's most unstable because everything else is attached to the telly still. So that's why this is the first one we're gonna go to. Yeah. Hey, I'm glad we got them all up, dude.
Yeah.
Huh?
One shot.
It's a little bit heavy on that string. We don't want it to, there we go. See how just barely kissing that string. We don't want it to be pushing the string out. All right. Man, I wish we were putting wood in the ground and sticking them in holes, you know?
Then climbing up.
And then climbing up and putting all the girts on.
All of our girts on in the gear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, because it's windy, because this is a tall wall-ish, we've got our lags in, but we're gonna come in through these holes here, and we've got 1/2-inch through bolts. We'll throw those in too, and that'll make this even more locked down, make us feel really good.
Somewhere in there.
That was a pretty clean one. I think this thing is running a million times better, dude, with a good fuel filter. I know I've said it before, but the plate level for us is pretty invaluable because, okay, we had a post over there that really showed it, but when Greg is holding this up on the post, here, Greg, go ahead and hold that bad boy. Okay. If you had a 4-foot level and you're leveling something in here, that post could have a bow. Sometimes you'll see, this is a pretty dang good post, thankfully. Sometimes wood's not perfectly straight, so you can get a bad reading with a small level, but with a long level like this, we're at least getting closer from bottom to top to make sure that we're plumb in that distance. If the middle kind of goes in and out, not much you can really do about that. It's wood. You tell me when, Greg?
I like it.
Are you still good?
Yeah, I would say I'm good.
Okay. Oh, probably a nail. Is this any different than a giant ladder?
Probably safer.
I would agree. Safety first. So because this wall, because it's so tall, because it's kind of hitting the max of what we want to do, we're gonna splice it. So we still need to put it together all as one, but then have a place to take it out. So Greg has put these nails here to help old man Kyle not go crazy and just put nails in, because then we gotta pull them. So, but that's so we can put it together as one, make sure everything is where we like it. Then we'll come through and we'll just pull these couple nails out. So Greg, let's not drive them all the way, okay, buddy?
Yeah. You want to use my hammer?
No, I don't.
Don't drive it all the way.
Okay.
Easy does.
How many pounds was that?
5.
Okay, so I got 5 more. So every girt that is fully on the 4th post over is part of this wall section. But everything that comes from the post down here, the next post is the ones that we don't want to fully attach. Give me just, oh no, that's fine, Greg. But leave the head. You know, this feels really nice because it's got such good grip on the nail. I'm not sliding all over the place. I think I'll give you 10 nails, Greg, before I hit my hammer. Not just 10 swings, because you're right, 10 swings is, I could just swing it like a Sally. Sorry, Sallies, I'm not disrespecting any Sallies out there. There's a nail in there. Hopefully we're all good. That good? Are you good over here, or do you want me to bring them over? Don't worry, let's get the bottoms. Let's get the bottoms. Yeah, we'll get the bottoms first. So now that we have these 2 sections up, we've got to join those splices. So the nail is still here where we put that temp nail in, and it's gonna go into the same hole so that we know we're right where we wanna be. And then we're gonna have to nail this also, but what you can see is as we go up, we've got a pretty good gap in the joints. Now this one's close, but you know, these walls are kind of going opposite of each other. So what we'll do is we'll use the telehandler while we're hooked up, and we'll pull this wall over to get a nice tight connection, get it all fastened, and then it'll be back to one whole wall. There may be a little bit of movement up here, but believe it or not, back when we used to do this with posts in the ground, there was a lot more movement because all that dirt and whatever you put around that column, unless you fully cemented those posts in, which is not always a great idea unless you have some sleeve around your wood because it's gonna really hold moisture. But these things are pretty stout. It's pretty amazing, actually.
Here, the steel will bring it out.
Okay, yeah.
Ready?
Yeah, let's move to the bottom.
Yeah.
I can't.
Now. Help!
Which way?
My way, down, pull down.
That was weak, dude. Come on.
The problem is like, it was digging into one side and it was in the other side.
Oh, yeah. The only reason I know I'm gonna hit that nail is because I got that new head on there and I don't want to ruin it. Otherwise, I'd probably hit you.
Motivated.
That's right. All right, that's it for walls for now, huh?
Yeah, that's it.
Time to get our trusses prepped and our purlins made. Oh, that wasn't too bad. This knife is kind of, my leg. I feel like that's what you get for being dramatic. Now go down there and we gotta pick all this up.
For being dramatic?
Yes.
What do you mean?
If you would have stayed down there, let me worry about my knife.
It's the same thing.
No, it wouldn't have. Because you made it pop up, all dramatic like. So we're making up our purlins right now, and these are all 18-foot purlins because we need an overlap on our truss, which are spaced 8 foot. So they're gonna cover across 2 bays. What we need to do is get them all leveled, or straightened, I should say. What, you straighten from that end, Greg?
Probably either push them downhill, right?
I don't care, doesn't matter to me.
We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, but we're just gonna straighten them all so that we're gonna mass mark these. Like most things we try to do them as efficient as possible. Instead of taping and marking every purlin, we're just gonna tape and mark the 2 outsides. Then we're gonna use this nice straight edge, which isn't long enough. Should've got the 6-footer, huh? To mark all of them at once. And then we're gonna pre-drill them so we don't have to drive 60 penny nails through the edge into the top of our truss. Could we? Yeah, of course we could, but why work harder than you have to? It's easier to drill. Here, use that to straighten, Greg. I'm gonna go grab a 6-footer. It's easier to have a drill hole so that when you're up on those trusses, you're not having to do anything extra. You want it pretty easy, so. All right, get those straightened, Greg. I'll be right back. I'll grab a level. So we're gonna mark 1 foot, because we've got a 1 foot overlap. And we're gonna mark 9 foot, so that's because we have an 8 foot spacing, plus the 1 foot overlap. And then we're gonna mark 17 foot. That gives us a 1 foot overlap on both ends where our purlins are gonna overlap. And perfect center spacing. I shouldn't say perfect, right? Because perfect is not really attainable. You line it up on your perfect point there. So now that we have this bay made up, we're gonna go ahead and stack it and it'll be ready for us when we hang that truss set. We can just pick up this whole bay, take it into the mega deck, which we still gotta go pick up, don't we?
Yep.
Yeah. I wouldn't do this with just any level, only Stabila, because it's strong. Not sponsored. The reason this is so important, because we're gonna measure off this end. This is gonna be our fascia to our first truss mark, and then from there, everything's gotta be perfect. So if you don't start nice and straight, it's really hard to get a straight fascia on your building. So now Greg is gonna mark 22.5, because we got a 2 foot overhang. So 1.5 inch sub fascia, 22.5 to the outside edge of our truss, and then he's marking 3/4 of an inch in, which is where our screw or drill hole will be. So it's a little bit different than just an intermediate bay where we mark 1, 9, 17. We got a little bit different marks. Yeah, you remember 30-year-old Kyle. Same animal, different beast, you know?
High strung.
High strung? No, just high energy. All right, guys, we got our walls up. Well, the 3 main walls that we needed. We got purlins all marked up, prepped, ready to go. The last thing we need to do is prep this pile of trusses, which is pretty easy. We're just gonna put a 2 foot spacer marking down the top cord so we can put our purlins on, and then it will be time to install. But it's the end of the day today. It's too late to start trusses. That's gonna be tomorrow's job, and that means a new video. So if you guys want to stick around, see how we install these 60 wide, see what shape this building takes, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, follow along, and we're gonna go ahead, clean up, get these things marked, then get out of here so we can get back tomorrow, because that is going to be the favorite day of mine, which is truss day. So come along with me and we'll do that, but that'll be on the next video. We'll see you guys later.